last few years we've been dealing with all the COVID shite, anybody find that every now and again they felt like they were going a little bit mad? Yes. So overwhelmed is probably a better word. I'd feel a bit overwhelmed and I'd do a thing that I thought would help. Let me tell you a few of the things I tried. First thing I tried, I bought some seeds. Do you remember there was a while back there when food was so scarce we all thought we were going to have to grow it all ourselves? I bought some seeds. My friend quite rightly pointed out that seeds only really grow fruit and vegetables. I thought, what fucking use is that to me? Where are the seeds for the Twixes and the toilet rolls and the microwave dinners? That's what I need. Does anybody want to hazard a guess how many seeds I actually planted? None. Thank you, none. There's a man the other day shouted out 2, which has got to be the weirdest suggestion of all. Sounds like I just tripped when I got out the car and a couple accidentally landed in the ground. Another thing I tried a bit of yoga. Does anybody do yoga? Well, they even sound quite relaxed when they're answering the question, don't they?
Yes, I do yoga. I'm bendy as fuck.
I tried a bit of yoga, watched a lady on YouTube. Had to turn the volume up really loud, though, because I couldn't hear what she was telling me to do over all of the clicking of my joints. And initially I thought, is this going to be harder for me because I'm fat and the woman in the video is wafer thin and tiny? Is this going to be harder for me? And then after a while I realised, if anything, I had a slight unfair advantage. For example, when she said, pull in your lower belly, I thought, I'm glad she knows I've got 2. I found a way to make planking a lot easier. Do it naked, tits and belly, hit the floor, a lot less to hold up. And pretty much every time she said chin to chest, I was sort of already doing it. How is that a fucking exercise? That's how I read. Another thing I tried. Give me a woo if you've heard of the Couch to 5K app. Quite a lot of you. For those of you who haven't, let me tell you what it is. It's an app to get you running, a BBC app. The idea is you start as a beginner, and by the end you'll be able to run 5 kilometres. And the whole way through, you have somebody in your ear talking you through it, telling you when to run, when to walk, offering any kind of support and encouragement. And of those people, there's quite a few people you can choose from. One of them is Olympic gold medalist Michael Johnson. And another one is me. How the fuck did that happen? When I was first asked to do it a long time ago now, they were very nice to me. They said, you've got a really friendly voice. We thought you'd be great for this. That's what they said. What I think they meant was, you look like people who don't run. When I recorded it, I said, can I mix it up? Can I change it round? Can I put my own words in? They said, no, it's BBC, it's health. It's very important you just stick with what's written. All I was allowed to do is put in some well-done flowers and well-done pets. That's all I was allowed. All I really want to do on the bit where it says, and now have a snack, such as a banana. Really quietly underneath, I just wanted to go, muffin. So that you knew it was definitely me. And in case we were worried, I was safe. It's good to know that. It's good to know. But pretty much every day, somebody on social media will send me a message saying they've started it, or they finished it, or they're in the middle of it, and they never thought they could run, and now they can run, and they love it. And on one of my overwhelmed days, I thought, if it's working for all of those people, maybe I should be giving it a go. And then I thought, should I use my own voice? I couldn't work out if I'd find it inspirational or really fucking irritating. And the truth is both. Some days it would say things like, you're doing really well, I'm really proud of you. And I'd be like, I am doing really well. Thanks for being proud of me, past me, sitting on a sofa eating a fucking biscuit. Then other days it would say, well, if that went well, why don't you run a bit faster? And I would say, why don't you fuck the fuck off? But my husband said, isn't it hard? He prefers to do weights, doesn't like to run. He said, isn't it hard? Because I did do it, I completed the whole thing, and I used my own voice like an absolute bell end. He said, of course it's hard, it's running. I said, haven't we all done loads of hard things over the last few years we never thought we'd have to do? And I came up with something that sounds like a catchphrase. I don't know where it came from, but I like it, and I'm keeping it. I said, of course it's hard, because if it was easy, it'd be biscuits. I don't know where that came from. You've all gained weight in the last few years, yes? Yeah. I decided I wanted to try and lose a bit of weight, just the weight I gained in the lockdown. That was my plan. And most people, when they decide to lose weight, there's something that starts them off, spurs them on, kind of keeps them going. Maybe there's a holiday photo and they don't quite like how they look in it, or maybe they're sitting in a bath of gravy and it's not even for children in need. For me, it was when I sat on a public toilet and the Sanny bin opened and I hadn't asked it to.
Did you want me?
No, but my arse cheeks seem to disagree. But I tried really hard, and I lost 2 stone. That's all right, isn't it? I lost 2 stone, that's pretty good. That's very kind of you, thank you. I say 2 stone, it was the same half a stone 4 different times. Nobody gives a shit if you tell them you've lost half a stone. Everybody knows it's just 2 big dinners and a chocolate orange and the fucker's back on again, isn't it? But I've always had a belly, even when I was much, much slimmer, I've always had a belly. I always get offended when people think that this is pregnant, like I would ever let a pregnancy get this far. No! But I did a thing the January before last that I think a lot of people do, especially in January. I downloaded a diet app. Now, the phone I was using at the time was a thumb recognition phone. It didn't immediately recognise my thumb, it just kept juddering. And first of all, I thought my phone was just really clever, and it was like, it's a diet app, we've clearly been stolen. And then I looked at my thumb, and it was just covered in biscuit. So I licked the biscuit off, so I thought it might be my last biscuit in a while, and I downloaded the diet app. What came with the diet app was a WhatsApp group of other participants. It was open to all, but my group happened to be all women. And it was so we could support each other and help each other. Everybody knows diets are hard and a bit shit. Also in the WhatsApp group was a nutritionist who was no fun at all, it transpired. One of the women in the group asked a question of the rest of us, a perfectly reasonable question, especially on day 1 of a new diet. She said, I'm having trouble with my sweet craving. Can anybody recommend something that isn't bad for me but will help? And one of the other women responded almost immediately. And she said, I usually find a mug of hot water with 1 small drop of lemon works for me. And I just thought, I'm not going to make it to the end of the week. My suggestion was going to be half a Twix. And the nutritionist, she was called Poppy. Of course she fucking was. She said, can I just chip in? And I misread it. And I was like, chips, hooray, nom, nom, nom. She said, just brush your teeth, that fixes everything. And I thought, that's so unhelpful. The only thing that would help is hunger. If I could eat me fucking toothbrush, because I'm so hungry right now. You daft cow.
Cows.
There were some recipes that came with the diet. I tried one of them. It was how to make banana pancakes out of almost no ingredients. First time I tried them, just looked like vomit in a pan. Second time, managed to make them look a lot more like pancakes. And I was so excited and a little bit lightheaded from all of the hunger that when I ran from the kitchen to show my husband, I tripped and the plate smashed on the floor. But because it was a really low point in the diet for me, let's call it day 2, I ate them off the floor. And I had to check to see if the fragments of plate and cat hair I'd also ingested counted as my sins for the week. One of the women in the group got told off as an adult, got told off for eating goji berries. If you've never had goji berries, it's like chewing elastic bands. She got told off because goji berries are full of natural sugar, not really allowed on this plan. She wasn't having Coke or Pops with cider poured on. She was having goji berries on her bran flakes. Some sad sprinkled on some more fucking sad. I got told if I called it a diet. What I actually said was, I fucking hate this diet.
We don't like to call it a diet. We prefer to call it a way of life.
So I said, I fucking hate this way of life. She was right, though, because it was also my way of life from the 3rd to the 5th of January. I started to ask questions. You got a nutritionist at your fingertips, why don't you try and learn something? I said, I've got some questions for you, Poppy, is that okay? She said, fire away, anything you like. I said, I've had a cherry. Now, I thought it was okay because it's fruit, but now I'm not so sure it was on top of a bakewell. Is that okay? I've had an apple. An apple's full of natural sugar as well. It was surrounded by something called, what was it called? Crumble, is that all right? I've had a banana. A banana's allowed. I mean, I ate it out of a stripper's crotch. Is that all right? She said that was fine. The next thing, it was covered in cream. I think it was cream. I couldn't be sure. It was dark. But the final straw for me, my last day on the diet, or day 3, was when Poppy came on the WhatsApp group and she said, hey, girls. Which always pissed me off, because all women in their 40s and 50s, fuck off with your girls.
Hey, girls, can I just check if you all definitely challenged yourselves this week?
And I was the first to respond. I said, I've challenged myself, Poppy.
She said, oh, good, please share it with the group.
I said, gladly. I said, I challenged myself. I said, I walked into Asda. I went to the whoops section. I found 2 Belgian buns that had to be eaten by midnight, and I fucking did it! Give me a word if you came here tonight with a family member. And if you came with a friend. Oh, there's not as many with friends, but you're more enthusiastic. That's interesting, isn't it? The people who came with a friend, is anybody in a really long friendship? Give me a wave if you are. We've got people here. Oh, right at the front. How long have you two been friends? 15 years. Thank you for that. There was a lady the other day, shouted out 45 years. I said, wow, where did you meet? And she went, at birth. So it's not your fucking mum, is it? I hear people are like that.
My mum's my best friend.
Yeah, you're not hers. She wants you to move out. But well done to all of the long friendships in the room. I'm very impressed by you. I'm also a little bit jealous of you. I have friends from comedy, friends from other jobs that I found. I don't have any friends from school. You wouldn't think you'd know why, but I know exactly why. When I was a kid and my birthday rolled around, my mum would say, would you like a party? Now, you have to remember that kids' parties when I was a child, very different to kids' parties. Now, for example, I have a friend who has an 8-year-old daughter. For her last birthday party, they hired somebody to do manicures and also a hot tub. So what the fuck are you doing? You're not Kardashians. But if you've got little ones now, maybe this is the kind of elaborate party that you have to put on. Maybe you hire a venue. Maybe somebody does the catering. Maybe a man you don't know comes in a weird outfit and plays with your children for money. You can call him a clown if you like, but my description is still valid. Come on in, kids. Pedo the clown has arrived. We're pretty sure he's all right, but don't sniff his flower just in case. At least you know if he was getting any of the kids to touch him in the wrong area, because it makes this sound. I fully expect at some point on this tour to start getting really angry emails from clowns, which I will then forward on to the police. I found another one for you. You're welcome. Did a show in Antwerp a while back, in Antwerp in Belgium, and just after I honked, a man on the front row, really quiet, really sinister looking, just went,
Do it again.
So for him and for you. This is not the kind of party that was an offer to me, though, when I was a child. Let's gauge your age in the room. Give me a woo if you're under 40. 40 and above? There's a lot more of us. We can take them, can't we? The kind of party that was an offer to me in the 70s and the 80s would be this. 6 friends maximum. And that's the sort of amount I would have struggled to fill at that age. Somebody would have to bring their cousin just to make up the numbers. In your house, wasn't it always in your house? And your mum or a mum, someone's mum, would prepare the food. And by that I mean they would cut it all into cubes. So it could take part in the hedgehog. Anything that wasn't cut into cubes was cut on an angle, so you know you're at a party. That's how you know. I don't know if you know, but this works as an adult as well. If you're ever at somebody's house and you're like, is it a party? Is it not a party? Look at the food. Is it cut on an angle? You're at a fucking party. Or the biscuits fanned out on a plate. You're at a fucking party. You don't do that for yourself, do you? You don't sit down in front of Bake Off with a packet of pink wafers in your best plate. No. You put the full packet in, pull out the wrapper. There'd also be party games. When there'd be party games, one of your toys would be wrapped up several times and passed around until some other fucker takes it home. Someone would piss themselves, wouldn't they, always? Usually the same child at every party. And you'd all go home with a little bag of crap. That's a kid's party, isn't it? The 70s and the 80s right there. The other option, if I didn't want a party, would be this. So I'm from a place called South Shields. South Shields is near Newcastle. And in Newcastle is a department store called Phoenix, quite a fancy department store. And I had the option, if I wanted to, instead of a party, to go to Phoenix for the day with my mum, just 2 of us. We go to the restaurant, which was not fancy. Any restaurant that starts with your own tray is not fancy. And I could choose anything I liked off the menu, which every single time I went was always the same thing. All I ever wanted was chips in a bowl. That's all I ever wanted. Because to me, the height of luxury was being able to have nothing else with your chips but other fucking chips. Then we'd go to the toy department, I'd pick a toy, and we'd go home. Every single birthday I had as a child was spent in Phoenix. I never said yes to a party. I chose Phoenix over friends Some would say chips over friends. Still sort of doing it now, and I regret not a fucking thing. But every time I was invited to somebody else's birthday party as a kid, I always went. It's rude, really, isn't it, to go to others' parties, never have one of your own. I'd go to the party, I'd eat the cubed food, I'd win a prize, piss myself. I'd go home with a little bag of crap and an adult man's mobile number. But I bought this dress, many reasons, but one of them is that it's got fucking pockets. How you make a woman happy, isn't it? Show her something with pockets. This is what feminism is to me. Because I could be scratching my fanny now, you'd have no idea. But I've got a friend who's got dungarees and they've got pockets everywhere and she looks amazing in her dungarees and I'm so jealous and I keep thinking, should I get some dungarees? But she's a lot thinner than me and I've got a horrible feeling I just look fucking pregnant in them. And that's what I said to my husband. I said, I think the only way I could get away with dungarees is if either I lost loads of weight, it's not going to happen, I can't be bothered, or I wait until I'm so old that I couldn't possibly be pregnant. Which these days, because of fucking science, is about 70, isn't it? Thanks, fucking science. My husband went, oh, and I thought, oh, he's got a good logical brain. He's thought of a third solution. He said you could just wear the dungarees, but always carry a paintbrush with you. He said, no, in my look, people just point and go, look at that fat old lady preparing the nursery for her unborn child. We're heading on for my favourite time of the day, which is bedtime. Fucking love sleeping. I don't, however, sleep naked. Give me a word if you do sleep naked. And if you don't? The main reason I don't sleep naked is we've got a cat who's an arsehole. And if your toes are popping out the end of the duvet, he will nibble on them. Imagine what he'd do to me, Fanny. I'm not risking it. Not risking it. But a while ago, a friend of mine rang me one day laughing. She was heavily pregnant at the time. She rang me to tell me the hospital had been on the phone, and they said that when she came in to give birth, she was to bring a nightie, and she thought this was piss funny. She said, who even wears nighties these days? And I didn't say anything, but I wanted to say, me. And then she said, where would you even get a nightie from these days? And that's when I snapped and said, Marks and Spencer's, you fucking idiot. They told her to bring a button-down nightie, which makes sense for breastfeeding reasons, but I think that's just good advice for all of us, isn't it? If your partner can rummage in the top and then rummage underneath, you don't have to take the fucker off at all. There are some health benefits to sleeping naked, let me tell you. There's 3 of them. Let me talk you through them. Number 1, keeps your temperature down, and I thought, well, so does sticking a leg out. Number 2, improves self-esteem. That sounds like a load of shit, doesn't it? I don't think it would improve my self-esteem if my husband rolled over to see me lying there with a chin full of tits. At least in a nightie they're contained, aren't they? Instead it looks like a carrier bag full of bread buns. And number 3, keeps testicles cool. It's mostly for the men, that one, obviously. Now, I've met some testicles in my time. Nice to meet you. I've never met a cool one. They've all got a degree of sort of tackiness, haven't they? Like you're waiting for them to dry. But I've got a nice tradition. I like to get new pyjamas for Christmas. Does anybody else do that? Yeah. So last November, I went around various department stores to have a look at what they had by way of new stock in the pyjama department. It wasn't great, if I'm honest. I would say half of them were fleecy. That's the noise that women make when parts of them are hotter than the sun. Nobody wants thrush for Santa coming, do they? No. The other half had slogans across here. I'm 47, fuck off with your slogans. I saw 2 slogans. One said, it's Prosecco o'clock, which I don't know if you know is not an actual time, just a fancy term for alcoholism. And the other one said, there's always time for brunch. And there's not, is there? Sometimes it's just you and some Weetabix, and it's pretty fucking sad. But I thought, if they want slogans, why don't they have realistic slogans? So I had a think, and I've come up with 3 ideas. I am going to pitch them to the department stores, but I wanted to run them by you first. Is that all right? Yeah. Okay, so here we go. 3 realistic slogans for pyjama tops. Here we go. Number 1, Don't come too close. I've worn these as clothes for 4 days. Like that one? Like that one? Number 2, that's not a pattern, it's tomato soup. And number 3, if I'm honest, the top smells better than the bottoms. I will pitch them to the department stores and I'll let you know how I get on.